What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be discussing more about the post-end the season interviews, and this time I want to talk about what Artūras Karnišovas, AK for short, actually had to say in relation to the end of the season comments. And very interesting stuff. It felt like he played very different sides in many ways, talking about how he wants to make big changes to this team and how he's going to look at every possible avenue. But at the same time, when asked about most of the team, he said he wants to keep them. So big questions, not a lot of answers, and that's where we're going to be discussing our, issues, or whether or not Artūras Karnišovas is being serious about some of the words that he's saying. And that's just my thoughts and opinions on the situation as well. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about Artūras Karnišovas and whether or not you believe he will be making big changes in the off-season. I know a lot of people are saying that the big three for the Chicago Bulls is coming to an end now. It looks like one or multiple of the big three could be on their way out of Chicago and stuff of that nature. There is so much that we can discuss in this avenue, but let's just start off with some of the things Artūras Karnišovas had to say. Now, funnily enough, he was in the same interview room as Billy Donovan, but it felt like Billy Donovan only got one question. Everything was targeted towards AK, and look, he kind of had a very, I would say, neutral standpoint. It didn't look like he played his hands a lot, but at the same time, he said a lot of interesting things. So basically, he said towards the end of the season, he was proud of this team for getting to a positive record in terms of the postseason break. All those games, the Bulls went positive, which is obviously a good thing. He said he's proud of the team for doing that. He said that he was obviously disappointed in the Bulls not making the playoffs, and that is always the goal. He said he's going to look at every possible avenue. When asked about rebuilding, he said that he wasn't going to rebuild, or in a sense that he wasn't going to, he wants to compete with the top teams. He didn't necessarily say, I'm not going for a rebuild, but he says he wants to find a way to compete with the top teams in the NBA. So that does rule out rebuilding, in my opinion, but again, you never know what direction he'll go down. And essentially, when asked about every single one of the players, he was asked about Coby White, he was asked about Ayo Dosunmu, he was asked about Nikola Vucevic, he was asked about Zach LaVine, and all these guys. He basically said how happy he is with them and how he wants to keep them. So many questions, and not a lot actually was answered in relation to that. So I kind of want to know what you guys think about this, because there's two ways that I think about this. The first one is, obviously, he's keeping his cards close to his chest. He doesn't want to reveal what he personally thinks the Bulls need to do. If, for example, he said, for Ayo Dosunmu, for example, because he said he hopes Ayo Dosunmu is a Chicago Bull for a long time to come. If he comes out and says there is going to be a question mark on Ayo Dosunmu's future, that doesn't necessarily send the right message to Ayo Dosunmu or to anybody in relation to Ayo Dosunmu, like his management and stuff like that. And they might consider a move before the Bulls do and stuff like that. And the Bulls wanted to truly keep Ayo. Well, then he said the right things. He said he wants Ayo to be there. I don't think he's going to come out and say that one specific player is not going to be a Chicago Bull. For example, I don't actually know if he was asked about this, but if he was asked about Javonte Green, I'm pretty sure Artūras Karnišovas would have said, I hope we can extend Javonte Green. He's an important part to the team and stuff of that nature. So that could be a situation where, look, keep the cards close to your chest. Don't reveal anything yet. Don't reveal the decisions you have to make. Maybe you don't know the decisions you have to make either. So until then, try to keep everybody happy. We'll make the decisions when it's time to make those decisions. That's obviously one way to look at it. Or two, he could be saying everything in front of us, and the Bulls fans might choose not to believe it. And maybe he is saying what he believes will happen. Maybe he does think he will extend Coby White, extend Ayo Dosunmu, extend Nikola Vucevic, extend DeMar DeRozan, extend all these guys and keep the team the way that it is. However we can actually do that, I have no idea, but maybe that's how he's thinking, and maybe that's what the Bulls are going to do. So question marks in that avenue as well. Maybe he really is telling the truth and he wants to keep all of these guys, which means, if that is the case, if everything he's saying is true about, look, he's looking at every possible avenue, but at the same time he wants to keep a lot of our expiring deals, well then we could be seeing a very similar team that we saw this year next season as well. And that's a question I also want to ask to you guys. Do you want to see the same team come around next season? Do you believe that we're only a couple of pieces away from truly competing? Or do you believe there is a rebuilding process or a retooling, and I mean a massive retooling process that needs to take place for the Chicago Bulls to compete again? I know there are a lot of people that are on different wavelengths in terms of this. Again, there are other social media accounts out there on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you tend to look at some of the comments about the Chicago Bulls, and all of them speak different things. I think if you look at the Twitter fan base for the Chicago Bulls, a lot of it is trade everybody, rebuilding process, let's start again, stuff like that, fire Billy Donovan, all of those conversations. If you look at, you know, different social media platforms outside of Twitter, it's mainly, we're not that far away, we're 2 or 3 pieces away, if we could just get a couple of shooters, we could be competing and stuff like that. So again, there are so many ways that people will feel about this, and I honestly do not know, I guess, the direction that the Chicago Bulls are going to go down. But again, Artūras Karnišovas in 2 ways, he's saying what he feels like he should say, but he's also not revealing anything as well. It's very, very interesting tactics in the way that he's answering some of these questions, and we'll have to wait and see at the end of the day. I left Artūras Karnišovas, I guess, press conference not necessarily learning much, because you can't say that you're going to look at every possible avenue you possibly can to make the right moves for the Chicago Bulls, and then saying you want to keep everybody in the same press conference and expect me not to be confused by the situation. In reality, I haven't necessarily learned much about Artūras Karnišovas and how he plans to do the off-season, because I don't know which direction he's going to go down. Is he going to look at possible avenues, or is he going to keep everybody and we're going to try again with I guess, the same team? I have no idea. And that's a question that obviously we may not know for a long time, but again, since it is the off-season and since the playoffs are going on right now as we speak and the Chicago Bulls are not in there, these are the conversations I'm going to bring to you guys as Bulls fans to keep the Bulls fans engaged with how the off-season may look for the Chicago Bulls. So what do you guys think? Do you think we're going to look at different avenues? Do you think we're going to keep the same team and go again? Big questions, not a lot of answers, and we'll have to wait and see. That is my video for today. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.